How do you get a shy girl to talk to you? A lot of guys are intimidated by women, and as well they should be, because women are the most beautiful creatures in the universe. But women are terrified of being alone, and they're looking for Prince Charming to come out of somewhere and sweep them off their feet and carry them to a castle. Or not. A lot of women are also looking for someone that can engage them in an intelligent conversation and be fascinated by them. But the most important thing to remember is that all women want to feel that they are valued for their minds. Not just for the looks, but also for the way they think. And one of the ways you can do that is through a process called open-ended and closed-ended questions and using criteria words. Let's go ahead and talk about what an open-ended question is for right now. An open-ended question is something that can't be answered in one word or a sentence or a paragraph. It's open-ended. And so you might ask something like, what is the best thing you've ever done in your life? What is the favorite thing that you've ever done? What was the thing that you got the most credit for? What was the thing that you've ever done that you're most proud of? And as people start talking, they can't answer that in just one word or a sentence or a paragraph. They'll start to talk. And here's where you go ahead and you start asking them questions to sort of have them expand on that. And I call these almost verbal yeast, where you go ahead and you throw that into the mix and you'll just watch it bubble and it'll percolate and it will go ahead and grow. And as you start asking people these questions, especially a shy girl, you'll find that everyone likes to talk about themselves if you're sincere, if you're honest, and if you really are interested in what they're having to say. And as they're starting to talk, you want to go ahead and use closed-ended questions to steer them back to where they want to go. Now, most people hate to be interrupted, with one exception, to gain further clarity. And so if you ask them a question that has nothing to do with what they were just talking about, you've interrupted them, and that's rude. But if you say, pardon me, I just want to go ahead and make sure I understand. Now what you're actually saying is, you did this because this? Wow, can you go ahead and tell me some more about that? And have them clarify something that they said in the open-ended question to gain deeper understanding. When you do that, you can guide that person around and find out exactly what they want to do. And as you start doing this, the person will open up, and within a couple of minutes, you'll start to have this easy give and take. Now, what I always recommend is that when you first start out with someone, you might have to give them a little bit to get the pump primed. And so you might say, you know, the best thing I ever did was I once started a drama team. What's the best thing that you ever did? And you give them a little bit in order to go ahead and get some back. And what you'll find is that you give them a little bit to get them started, and once you have that pump primed, they'll just go ahead and start talking and talking and talking and talking, and before you know it, they won't want to hear anything that you have to say. Now, when I was younger, it used to really bother me that women would go ahead and I would ask them questions and they would talk and talk and talk and get really excited about telling me everything, but they wouldn't ask any questions about me. Well, let's save that for later. What you want to do right now is you want them to go ahead and talk about themselves. So get them to open up, and you want to ask a lot of questions and have them be open-ended. Now, here's a couple of things you don't want to ask. Never use the word why, because whenever you say why, that puts people on the defensive. So, what, how, can you tell me a little bit about what was your impression of something like that, where you go ahead and it's very open-ended, very soft and loose around the edges, and what you'll find is that people start to respond if it's interesting. Now, if you ask a boring question and you aren't interested in yourself, what you'll find is that the other person's not going to really want to talk to you. What happens if they're absolutely gorgeous and shy and they don't want to talk to you? You ask them a small question that is geared to open that up into a larger question, which now you're asking questions about themselves. Well, tell me about that. That sounds interesting. How did you do that? When did you do that? Was that this last year? What was your favorite vacation? Really? You went there? And you start asking questions, and people like to talk about themselves. And the next thing you know, they'll start spouting all this information. And you want to go ahead and give them these little verbal cues to get them moving. And once you do that, you have a conversation going. And I don't care how good looking or how non good looking you are, every woman wants to tell about themselves.